Hi, I'm Ben and welcome to Motivation to Invest. Our mission is to motivate you to invest for your financial freedom. Whether that means escaping the 9-to-5 drudgery or just improving your quality of life, I'm here to help you by providing you with valuable investing tips and strategies. Due to the recent global issue, which shall not be named, the economy has stalled and the stock market has taken a major hammering. Is the world about to end, or is this the greatest time to invest in some bargain stocks? If you believe, like me, that the economy will recover as it has done so many times before from previous recessions, then now could be a great time for you to start investing. Live Nation Entertainment is one of the largest promoters of live events. They run over 270 venues, from theatres to arenas. Live Nation also owns 4 of the 5 largest music festivals in North America and the Ticketmaster platform. Live Nation is a big deal, and back in 2016 over 71 million people grabbed a ticket to one of their events. Now, this global pandemic and the social distancing laws which have been enforced have affected most businesses in a negative way. However, it has particularly affected the live events industry as they rely on large groups of people and mass social interaction. For example, Tomorrowland, the massive Belgian festival, has already suspended its festival for the year 2020, as have many other great festivals. So at the moment, it's hard to imagine people refilling these mass arenas run by Live Nation so soon after the social distancing measures have been introduced. Due to this, Live Nation Entertainment stock has hit rock bottom as the future of major concerts and live events remains uncertain. So wouldn't it be crazy to invest in Live Nation Entertainment? Well, billionaire Mark Cuban doesn't think so, and in a recent interview with CNBC, he mentioned he had invested into Live Nation. Could this stock double within the next few years? Or is it a complete disaster and you should stay away? In this video, we're going to find out. I'm going to do a full stock analysis of Live Nation Entertainment, and I'm also going to discuss the global issue with large social gatherings and how that may look in the future. Let's dive in.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win.
Before we get started, go ahead, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to turn the notification bell on, that way you'll get notified when I release future videos and stock picks. It's good to be first on the scene when an interesting stock is at a great price. So will things get back to normal? The mass social distancing laws have had a major economic impact. And although I don't believe this is permanent, the future still remains uncertain. Many economists have spoken of a possible traffic light system in which low-risk small businesses are allowed to open, such as barbershops, restaurants and other small businesses with less than 10 people, before bigger events and venues. Now, having said this, it shows that Live Nation's events of 20, 30, 40,000, 50,000 people will be at the bottom of the list to be reopened.
Let's get ready to rumble!
This means the live events industry is one of the riskiest places to invest right now. Now, despite billionaire Mark Cuban investing into Live Nation, he has actually voiced many concerns about if and when things will get back to normal.
People aren't going to just venture outside. They're not going to go to large gatherings. They're not going to feel confident right off the bat. There's going to be a lot of trepidation, and that concern is going to lead to people holding back and spending money. We're not going to know if the virus is coming back. And on top of that, when it comes to hiring people back, companies aren't going to just immediately bring everybody back. So there are a lot of people who were hoping they'd go back to work that just won't be able to.
People not immediately embracing the idea of big crowds, 20,000 people in an arena sitting right next to a stranger. So do you think the NBA returns this season? How do you do that with social distancing? And could you envision a situation where everybody who comes in has to have their temperature taken?
Well, a couple questions there, Chris. Do I see us getting back to a season? I don't want to make any predictions, but I'm hopeful that we will. But I don't think we'll play in front of fans. I think initially we'll play just for the TV cameras with essential personnel and players. And I think that's a great thing because I think we need things to cheer for. We need teams to get excited about. We want a communal experience so we can all root for our favorite teams. That's going to be a big step. And I think the NBA recognizes that that's a responsibility we have and that we'll undertake as soon as it's safe because we won't do anything to jeopardize the safety of our players or employees. Now, part two to that, in terms of when do we get back to that sense of normalcy where we can all crowd into a stadium or an arena, once we have confidence in the medicine, then I think that's when it happens.
Mark Cuban is voicing valid concerns, but he's backtracking and contradicting himself from his initial investments. But as the owner of Dallas Mavericks basketball team, maybe he's got to keep a brave face on things. With regards to his basketball team starting to play again competitively, he thinks this will be done first just in front of camera and essential personnel before fans were potentially let into the stadium. And this would be after a temperature check and potentially with socially distanced seating. So you can sit in your particular groups and be socially distanced from the rest of the people in the arena. But he thinks this will be stage 2 or stage 3 of a potential reopening. First, he thinks just cameras, essential personnel. So could this stock price double? Live Nation was once a hero of the stock market. Its share price had climbed from just $10 in 2013 to over $70 in 2020. Driven by the growth of the concert industry and the other consumer trend in which people prefer to pay more for experiences than for physical products. Concerts and live events are the perfect place to create a memorable social gathering. Live events and touring also affects the music industry massively, with most musicians making the majority of their money from touring, as online streaming services such as Spotify do not reward the musicians as much. This trend has led to an increase in live music concerts and thus bolstered further Live Nation's growth. Although it's difficult to put a clear date on when Live Nation will resume business, it's clear to see that the consumer trend is still strong. Many analysts have predicted a return of this industry at some point. The real question is when? 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year? And how will this look when these events and festivals are finally allowed to reopen? What about debt levels? It's vital before investing into any business, be sure to check their levels of debt. You want to ensure that the business has enough cash on hand to cover its operating costs and liabilities while it's going through a difficult period. In 2019, Live Nation had $3.3 billion in debt and just $2.2 billion in cash. This compares to $773 million in EBITDA earnings generated during 2019. These earnings are earnings before tax, interest, depreciation and amortization. You must now consider how much earnings the company has, which can go toward paying these interest and debt retirement costs. It may appear that Live Nation has enough cash on hand and earnings to accommodate its debt load. However, as earnings in 2020 will likely be hampered or potentially non-existent, this puts the business in a very risky situation. In addition, the cash held by Live Nation isn't cash the company can keep. For example, $873 million of the cash it has is related to tickets sold for events that have not yet occurred and charges owed to clients. There is a very strong possibility that many of those events may be cancelled, which means that the cash would have to be refunded to customers, which is bad news for Live Nation. The good news is, in the short term, Live Nation doesn't have any major debt maturities in 2020 and most likely has enough cash on hand to weather this storm if it doesn't last too long. What about cash flow seasonality? This global pandemic couldn't have come at a worse time for Live Nation. with spring, summer and fall its most vibrant and popular months. Live Nation actually operates at a loss during the first and fourth quarters, before recouping these massively during the second and third. With the second and third quarters of 2020 uncertain, this makes that stock even more risky. Deep diving into the stock here, we can see that Live Nation is trading at 30.9% below its fair value, with its earnings previously forecast to grow at 57.68% per year. And its earnings have grown by over 30% over the past 5 years, which are incredible. Looking at the risks, we can see that the shares are highly liquid. In addition, there has been significant insider selling over the past 3 months, so we'll definitely further investigate those. Moving on, we can see that the share price versus the calculated fair value is 30.9% undervalued. So this software calculates the fair value of this company as approximately $64.96. And it says its current price is just $44.86, which is significantly below fair value. Looking at the price to earnings ratio, it says as the company is unprofitable, we can't compare its PE ratio to the entertainment industry. So you need to remember that if the company is currently unprofitable at the moment, that is a major sign for worry. And that is why the share price has dropped. And that's why there is insufficient data to calculate these other metrics here. This was for the forecasted future growth before the issue, so 57.7%, which is incredible. As you can see here, this was the growth, and then as we entered 2020, but then after, it is predicted to continue growth after 2021, 2022. Future return on equity is high. So this is saying in 3 years' time, you could expect 81.6% return on equity, which is incredible. Looking at the financial position analysis, now this part is vital. I discussed it briefly with regards to the debt levels of the business. So as you can see here, in the short term, these are its current liabilities and current assets, which must be paid within 12 months. As you can see here, it only has slightly more assets to cover its liabilities. And as I stated previously, approximately 800 million of these assets are ticket sales, which may potentially be refunded. So that's quite a little bit of a risk there. In the long term, it does have more assets than liabilities. So that is a good sign in the long term. But in the short term, it is a little bit risky. Yeah, so as you can see here, forecast cash runway. So it's unprofitable, but has sufficient cash runway for more than 3 years due to the free cash flow being positive and growing by 10.9% per year. So according to this data, it's approximately, I'd say, a 3 to 5 year investment, which could pay off, but it does come with that risk. Now, insider trading, this is something you also need to check up, because if the insiders and the people on the management board have faith in that business, then really they should be buying back shares in the business. Whereas as you can see here, there's been a lot of sell-offs, which is worrying. So the major sell-off seems to have been here, 4.1 million. Ariel Emmanuel, $58 a share. So he obviously knew something, he or she knew there was something coming. So that's the independent director. Now that could be to do with that person's personal situation, or it could be to do with something else. Let's look at what the rest of the board is doing. So the rest of the board has actually purchased shares in the business. These people here, these have all purchased shares in the business. 85,000, 111,000, close to $1 million there, $100,000 there. So these have all purchased shares in the business. These people here, which is a good sign. So it's just that one major sell-off there. Overall, Live Nation is a great company to own during normal times. It previously had forecasted earnings growth of over 58% per year. However, due to this global pandemic, it's very uncertain how long Live Nation will take to recover and when the live events industry will be allowed to continue operations. Although Live Nation's share price is 29% below its fair value, which does offer a margin of safety, for me it's just too risky at the moment, but it is a stock I will keep my eye on. I suggest anyone who's interested in Live Nation's stock keep an eye on the management's outlook for the second and third quarters. Do you think the live events industry will recover? Comment your thoughts below. Be sure to check out my other videos where I analyse 5 stocks I purchased during the previous stock market crash, which has seen me up by £1,000 in just 7 days. Now, as a long-term investor, this increase doesn't really make a difference to me, but it's still nice to watch your portfolio grow over such a short period of time. This suggests a possible V-shaped recovery from this recession. I also have a video reviewing the free trading apps which make it really easy to get started investing. I've included a couple links below which will give you a free share when you sign up. But remember, on this channel we don't give financial advice. So please evaluate the stock yourself, research it yourself, assess your own investing goals and your own budget before investing into any stock we mention on this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, smash that like button and definitely subscribe. See you next time.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win.